Professor Alex Tabarrok, I mean, you're an economist, maybe the only one on the panel, which, means we're going to really test your skills. Tell us, so obviously implicit in some of what we're hearing in the discussion about reform is whether or not cash bail should exist at all, right? So should it exist? Shouldn't it? What's your view?
Yeah, so I guess my role on this panel is to be the bad guy, which Anthony Hopkins says those are the best roles, so that's okay. Look, I have 2 points to make. First of all, the paradigmatic case for the movement to eliminate cash bail is a person who is innocent, who is wrongly arrested for a minor crime, who rots in jail because they can't afford bail. As you pointed out, these cases do exist. We have such cases. They deserve attention. However, they are not paradigmatic. I want to give you some data from New York City. This is from a paper by Kleinberg et al. It covers 500,000 arrests between 2008 and 2013. 35% of the arrests were for a violent crime, including 12% for murder, rape, or robbery. Violent crimes were the single largest category. Drug misdemeanor cases were 12%. Most of the arrested people had prior interactions with the criminal justice system. So on average, each arrested person had 3.2 prior felony arrests and 5 prior misdemeanor arrests. Convictions were less than arrests, which suggests to me maybe that the system isn't convicting enough, though interpretations will obviously differ. Nevertheless, the typical arrested person has been arrested multiple times previously. Now, given all this, I think actually most Americans would be pretty surprised to find that most people are released. 2/3 are released off the bat, and then more are released when they are assigned bail, and then they make bail. Now, it is true that quite a few people who are assigned bail don't make bail. I'll come back and talk about those in a minute. Of the people who are released, given their extensive history with the criminal justice system, it's perhaps not surprising to find that 15% fail to appear on the day of their trial. A whopping 25% are rearrested before trial, including 3.7% arrested for a violent crime and nearly 2% arrested for murder, rape, or robbery. Now, these are rearrest rates, which are almost certainly an underestimate of crime rates. Now, what role does money bail play in this? Well, first, the people who do not make bail, they're obviously not a random sample of the people who have been arrested. The people who do not, the people who do not make bail are on average more dangerous. They have twice as many arrests and twice as many convictions. For example, the average defendant who doesn't make bail has 6 previous felony arrests and 4 previous failures to appear. 4 previous failures to appear, the average. Now, what's going on here actually seems pretty obvious to me, is that there is a group of people whose job is a crime. And when they are arrested and released, they go back to their job. And they continue to do this until they are convicted of a crime and spend some time behind bars. So that's point number 1. Point number 2, I just want to say a brief word on some of my work with Eric Helland on the bounty hunter system, on bail bondsmen. Because most of the people who are assigned bail, they don't have the cash, so they borrow the money from a bail bondsman. That gives the bail bondsman a strong incentive to make sure that the person appears for trial. And they actually do this in a lot of interesting, beneficial ways. They remind the people, they call them up, they send them text messages. The bail bondsman is actually a unappreciated help to the defendants, helping them to navigate the system. Second, if they do fail to appear, the bail bondsman can send a bounty hunter after the people who fail to appear. And it's really the bounty hunters are really the only people who systematically go after and bring in people who fail to appear. The bounty hunters are really the long arm of the law. And my colleague and I find that people who are released on commercial bail are 28% more likely to show up. And if they fail to show up, they are 50% more likely to be caught quickly and to not be at large within a year. So my points really are this, to summarize, is that when we're talking about a radical measure, such as eliminating cash bail, we need to focus on the paradigmatic, the actual average cases, the paradigmatic cases of the people we're talking about. If we're eliminating cash bail, yeah, we're going to let some innocent people go, great, but more often we're going to let the guilty people go as well. So we want to be aware of who we're talking about. Second, if we eliminate cash bail, we eliminate the bounty hunter, and the bounty hunter is one of the highly incentive systems which actually work, and we need to keep that in mind when we're doing so. So the original purpose of bail is actually to get people out of jail. So the original understanding was everyone was held until trial. This is going way back. And so bail is actually a way to get out of jail. And I think we need to keep that in mind. Another thing we need to keep in mind is, I actually agree with quite a bit of what Robin said, but I have a different perspective on that. And that is as follows. If we eliminate bail, so that means that we just give the judge a binary decision. Let this person out on their own recognizance or detain them. Now, if we do that and keeping the American public as concerned about crime as they are today, and if judges start to release a lot more people, the American public is going to be very, very upset. And what is going to happen, I worry, is that the plan to eliminate cash bail will completely backfire because the public will force judges to detain more people. So bail is kind of like a halfway house. It gives judges some a movement between 0 and 1. It says, well, I'm not going to release them on their own recognizance, but if they can get the family to help them out, if they can have an incentive to come back, I will release them on bail rather than detaining them. And I worry that we're going to eliminate cash bail. In fact, we're going to detain more people.